like a drop of water on a lotus leaf. She said simply when she was asked how she saw herself in the BJP in an interview way back in 2011 when she was a BJP spokesperson. Now the Minister of State for Commerce and Industry, we know that she's a woman of tough action, but her demeanor still resonates with the same eloquence and dignity. Born in Madurai, Tamil Nadu, Ms. Sitharaman moved to Chennai to live with her Periyamma, her mother's elder sister, when she was in class 5 because her father was in a transferable job in the railways. She lived there for 3 years, after which her parents decided that the family should settle down in Trichy. She completed the rest of her schooling there, followed by a BA in economics. She then ventured northwards, moving to Delhi to pursue her master's in economics and later a PhD in Indo-European textile trade at the prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru University. In an interesting turn of fate, she would come to run India's trade policy 3 decades later. The atmosphere in JNU has always been politically charged, mostly left of center. She became an active member of Free Thinkers, a politically non-aligned group in JNU. She also met her future husband, Dr. Parakala Prabhakar, there. Interestingly, Dr. Prabhakar's father was a 5-time Congress MLA in Andhra Pradesh, and he himself was close to Narasimha Rao. Ms. Sitharaman was far removed from active politics, even though she was married into a politically active family. When her husband contested the elections in 1994, she campaigned for him. That was my first-hand experience of electoral politics, she recalls. Even when he joined BJP, her interest in politics was minimal. It is ironic, though, how the Gandhi family cast a shadow on her 2 crucial moments in her life. One was a death and another was an assassination. In June 1980, she was on a train to Delhi, all set to join the JNU, when the news came about Sanjay Gandhi's death in an air crash. By the time she reached Delhi, there was complete chaos. Fortunately, her uncle pulled her out of the train, huddled her in a taxi and took her home. 11 years later, as she was preparing to leave the hospital with her newborn, the news of Rajiv Gandhi's assassination came in. She just could not leave the hospital for 11 days until things got settled. Her entry into public life was marked by joining the National Commission for Women, where she served as a member 2003 to 2005. In 2008, she became a member of the National Executive of the BJP and was appointed national spokesperson in 2010 when she had to move from Hyderabad to Delhi. Ms. Sitharaman has written that she spends the first 3 hours every day reading 9 English newspapers. She reads every bit of news and opinion and edit page articles in these 9 papers. She also prepares her press releases and edits them herself. An avid collector of songs in praise of Lord Krishna, she is deeply rooted in Indian traditions and customs, and the following story will tell you how. Apparently, while working for the BJP, she had asked Nitin Gadkari, then BJP chief, for something called achar leave, to make pickles at home with her family. A stunned Mr. Gadkari turned towards her and said, "Kya Nirmala ji, achar ke liye chutti?" But then she explained how this ritual of making pickles was a critical part of our life. You see, all over India, making pickles at home during summer used to be, and probably still is, an important activity. You made bottles of achar that lasted for an entire year. But apart from being an achar freak herself, Ms. Sitharaman was married into a family where achar is absolutely serious business. Former Prime Minister Narasimha Rao is among those who ate achars that she made. She used to take time off from politics and its pressures to go back home to make pickles. I wonder whether she can do it anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, I won't waste any more of your time. We are only too eager to hear the Minister of Commerce and Industry, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman. Please do give her a very rousing welcome.
Namaskar. On the International Women's Day, to be in front of an audience which is so discerning and which is full of achievers, people who have personally committed their time, worked against all odds, and made an impact on the society, on things which matter, so much for the individuals who are beneficiaries and also to the larger society around where one lives. It's difficult to stand before them and speak. I've only come here to share my thoughts. I'm not talking to you, nor am I talking or lecturing to you. The experiences of particularly the two wonderful ladies who've done extremely well in areas where the government is unable to reach. I think it only makes me stand here with a sense of modesty and say I'm here to share my experiences, but to learn from every such experiment which is going on. And as Maria has very rightly said, the government has to now constantly look for such exemplars and make a difference to the society rather than let them struggle, make an impact, but very well, but the government is still spending money, you don't know where it goes. So with all this thought flooding in my mind, I stand before you more to share my experience. Very happy to be here on a day like this, particularly when two exemplary women have been awarded for their dedicated great work. My appreciations to them. And for whatever it is worth, thank you, Sucheta, for calling me here and talking on a topic which is so enhanced role of women in business. Enhanced role of women everywhere, but we don't even seem to document them. But yes, I can understand where you're coming from, and as somebody who's doing something about commerce in India, I think it's very important to talk about it. And I'm glad, therefore, you chose to have it as a topic to discuss. And I only would speak a few things about it, because majority of all that I want to say here is probably very well known. What's missing in it is how we are going to bring about that enhanced role, and it is a desperate situation. Why do I say that? Sometimes bland statistics do help us to understand the gravity of a situation. It's no good saying women make 50% of the population. 50% yes. Just to bring the context to where I want to start talking, I will let you get some statistics which I'm cherry picking on. A few years ago, I think it was the 68th round of the NSSO survey, which was talking about employment, how many people are employed in which sector and so on. It said about 50% of all those who are fully, totally employed are self-employed. So if there is a certain population of people who are totally, fully employed, 50% of them are self-employed. Now, those who are under some kind of a job, you presume that there is an institutional framework which will help them to take care of their, insurance, at least give them some access to education on how to pay your tax, if you're tax within the tax bracket, if you're not, what do you do with your money? There's some kind of an institutional framework under the guise of the employer who would probably help you to understand. But if 50% of all those who are totally employed are self-employed, it is therefore necessary for Moneylife and many other groups to tell them how to handle their money and so on. Now, today's International Women's Day, I was just looking at that statistics. From among those 50% who are totally self-employed, only 8%, 8.9% are rural women, and 1.9% are urban women. In other words, not more than or just about 10% of the total 50% who are self-employed are women. Meaning, for a country of our size, that number is nowhere. So for those self-employed women, what kind of facilitation are we giving, or how are we enhancing their role so that they become motivators, pioneers, or exemplars who will make other women want to be there? And for them to continue being self-employed, What does the system do? Does it give them enough facilitation? Does it help them to register their business? Does it give them credit? Does it give them safe or best replicable practices and knowledge of what they have to do in terms of due diligence? I won't be wrong, and I certainly will not be exaggerating if I said nothing is available. Nothing, just nothing is available. I've been self-employed, and thankfully, to grateful sense of gratefulness towards my parents, they've given me the best of possible available education. They've exposed me to many things. But even I wouldn't have been worse off if I had some assistance to tell me how to manage my business better, how to manage my, even at some cost, how to manage my finances better. But no, even if I were to search for it, I would probably, on the web today, be better off talking to Sucheta's group or one such group, but it's not as easily available. And again, a few years ago, there was an internet-based study on women entrepreneurs, and they very clearly showed, and of course I grant in these studies, the select group should be accessible on the net, they should be savvy to answer questions. So you're talking about a limited, and even within that limited, a small group of people who are talking to you. But the indications are that majority of these women who are doing something about keeping themselves economically productive are all in the micro and medium sectors, employing very few people, but employing nevertheless. So if we are constantly looking at the women, small entrepreneurs, self-employed, and categories like that which require help, again, no exaggeration, no help is being provided. Should it be provided? I think so, because unless you provide, you're not improving the efficiency, you're not adding to the GDP, you're not really making the economy around them vibrant. So the presumption, and rightly, the presumption should be that you have to extend facilitation. What kind of facilitation? The finance minister was right when he was talking during the budget, saying the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana was to reach out to those who have been unbanked. You need to get them to be in the banking circuit. They need to have access to bank. But then later when the government came up with Mudra, which actually is going to be if it is implemented well, and I'm sure the government is going to put all the energy behind it, because 20,000 crores as corpus and about 3,000 crores as credit guarantee. It's not going to be a small affair. And the way in which in the last 1 year, Mudra was worked on only to reach those sections which have till now had no access to any kind of financing or kind of refinancing, or even to get some kind of a credit assistance. These are the absolute unattended to sections of people, women, men, everybody. So my suggestion or my proposal in talking about enhanced role of women in business is women are already there, struggling, trying to make a difference, and actually making a difference to themselves and to the immediate society around them. But unacceptable as it may sound, they've just never been cared for. Care in the sense of not protect, not be patronizing, but institutional mechanisms which are otherwise available for others have never bothered to reach them, identify them, understand them, or even to extend any help to them. So I'm proud to say that I'm part of a government which not only understands that financing them and banking them is an important business, and theoretically has formed the framework, has started working and putting money where it matters. But of course, carrying it forward is all our business, and all of us will have to get such women to access that facility which is now being brought by the government. Now, this exercise is not going to be, in the sense, as attractive as working for political empowerment. Political empowerment of women, of course, everybody wants to be there. Everybody wants to say, I'm also working for them. 73rd, 74th Amendment in the Constitution. Then you have all the university and NGOs talking about CEDAW. Then you have the Millennium Development Goals, all of which have been, provided with a lot of talking material, awareness building material, and immediate infusion of a lot of awareness building exercises through the NGOs and so on. So when you're politically empowering women with legislations, with money, with NGOs, with awareness, you will have a lot of people wanting to join hands and come to make a difference. And that has seen a very good course between the time the 73rd Act was brought in, Amendment Act was brought in, until today. There were times initially when people said, oh, these women are, only there for their husbands or for their fathers and brothers who are all, proxy and all that. But today, I can tell you, I see it in the ground in Andhra Pradesh, in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. I have not so much interacted with the North Indian states, but they are no longer proxies for you. Those women are sitting up and saying things. They are the ones who are saying, why should a certain thing happen in a certain way in which it has happened last decades? Why can't it happen in a different way? And because they're asking these questions, the panchayat level developmental agenda is itself being reworked. And reworked for a larger cause, larger benefit, larger, purpose. And I can even say further from my experience of having adopted 2 villages under the Sansad Gram, Adarsh Gram Yojana. The moment you reach there, you don't even need to say, you don't need to announce that you've reached there. Women come straight, tell you a few hard facts and go away, which make you think. And even as I'm planning and executing a few things in the villages, it is these women who come and say, not just for saying, oh, why can't you do it this way? They openly say the cost-benefit analysis of the whole thing. You do it this way, this is what is going to be the outcome. You don't do it, this is what is going to be the result of a certain pocket of the village. And they work it all out. There's no couching the fact. There's never a diplomatic saying things. They put it onto you and say, choose yourself, choose for yourself. So I find working with these women absolutely clear. There's no muddling up of facts. And therefore, the first thing I would say is to enhance the role of women in business is absolutely important, because that helps even in policy. Women do the cost-benefit analysis in a ruthless fashion, because they've been all the while waiting to hear what is happening, all the while bearing the result of muddled decisions, bearing the result of decisions which are with vested interest. And a large section of women, therefore, when they tell you things, when they speak to you, are already somewhat very clear on what implication a decision would have. And therefore, I would presume that to enhance the role of women in business is only necessary because the clarity with which they think, the dispassionate way in which they lay the facts before you, are all evidence enough to say nobody's taught them the Ivy League business school principles, but they've seen it in the grassroots, and therefore they can stand up and say, this is what I feel. They're not carrying any baggage. They could be experiences based at home or based at their immediate neighborhood where they interact with others, or even in a panchayat level, the way in which panchayat priorities are worked out. The government may have come up with Jan Dhan Yojana, the government may have come up with Mudra, the government may have also come up with the pension schemes, the Bima scheme which we are coming up with, all with a women focus, youth focus, elderly focus. But what I find missing, and that's where I think the government will have to also look at how it can enhance the role of women in business, is the sensitivity with which banks deal with women. Yesterday, I was happy to participate in the Export Credit Guarantee Corporation's award-giving function, where the entries on women entrepreneurs is multiplying by the years. Most of them are doing unbelievable business. They have chosen areas which are unconventional, and they are excelling in them. It's no longer just women and papads or women and pickles. Women are doing such innovative business, diversifying into areas in which earlier no one would have thought of, and in this, even the rural businesses are coming up with a lot of innovation. But again, when it is a question of going and approaching the banks, it's not a comfortable situation, because a woman entrepreneur is probably in metropolitan cities dealt with as at par with a male. But when it comes to the rural areas, or when it comes to tier 2, tier 3 cities, the approach that commercial banks take is still with a little question mark on, are you okay? Is everybody around you okay? In other words, is your husband okay? Is your father okay? That sets a lot of, hurdles in the way in which the mindset of banks work when they deal with women. And these are things on which I think institutions like the Mahila Bank should make a big difference, although they are not widespread, they are not available in every city. They should in turn help other commercial organizations or banks to be able to reason it out for them, saying the entrepreneur, be it a male or a female, doesn't matter. It is their professional excellence which has to be looked at. Sucheta was right in talking about women need not be treated as women to be given some benefit, but that consciousness there should be there much before they are recognized for what they do. And in political parties, given my little experience, I can tell you, women are not treated unequally, but even a person like me could come into a political party as a lateral entrant only because of the reservation policy. And that sometimes makes me feel a bit odd, because I've never worked on those planks. Till before then, I've been working on perform if you have to be recognized, and tried my best. I don't know how in each of the sectors where I have been engaged in before, my performance has been rated. But when I had to get into a political party based on reservations, because they were looking at women in different layers, starting from Panchayat to the national executive, it was the reservation which made me get into the political party. But post that, that has not conditioned my mind to say, well, I've come under a quota, I will continue to be under quota. And the party has also not treated us like that. And I'm saying this absolutely looking into your eyes. Your performance has mattered. And I'm sure if it is that which matters in a political party, I'm sure that's what has got to be mattering when you're in business too. But the government and many such Sucheta Dalals, not just in English, but in Telugu, Assami, Marathi, Gujarati, or Tamil Malayalam, any language, will have to reach all those women now who have proved it, that it is their substance which has made them to be self-employed, be there, fight it out, whether they are a rediwala or whether they are sitting in the little unorthodox street market and selling their wares, fighting as much for that little unauthorized, but yet the space in which they have to do their economic activity, as much as tough, thuggy men. I think it's time for all of us to reach out. The government should reach out, not just by announcing Mudra, but we have to take it further. And I want Sucheta Dalals everywhere. These women should be told what is it that they can do to ensure their future, to ensure best practices, however unorthodox their economic activity be it. What are the compliances they need? They're not sure at all, and they're thoroughly exploited. Men or women on the streets who are selling, or men or women who have little shops or establishments. And therefore, I think today the need is to have greater awareness when you're talking of women in business. I see them in the villages when I go. Sometimes you're surprised beyond limit as to what extent these women have proved. I can give you any number of examples and contrast it with the political empowerment which has happened of women. Whether it's your Chipko movement, whether it is the Uttarakhand movement for a separate state, whether it's Manipur's women who are both entrepreneurial and politically conscious, whether it's all the women sitting in the panchayat in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, where they are real toughies who fight for their resources. Now the current government has devolved financially a lot of resources to the states and therefore to the local bodies and so on, which has not happened all these years in spite of the 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts. So the empowerment politically has taken various different examples, shapes and movements. But this empowerment of women in business has just been left today with this allocation and many such conscious movements which are coming out to help women. It cannot be metropolitan-centric. 1.99 is all that you have here. But 8.99 is what is happening in the rural areas for women. We need to reach out to them, and having laid the larger context of what it means to have enhancement of women in business, I think I'll certainly from the government reach out, take ideas, make Mudra more efficient, make our social welfare more efficient, but to organize them. And the last point I would like to say here is these women are wonderfully tech savvy. They wouldn't mind coming in the evenings and say, tell me, what should I do here? I want my business to be put on the net. Women vegetable sellers, women lace makers, women who are sitting and weaving baskets have all asked me, whether it's in the Northeast, whether it's in Manipur, where women's movement in terms of selling things, entrepreneurial skills, they've all asked, what can commerce do to us? We want to be on the net. We want the world to see what we are doing. Women in the fishing village that I've adopted, the men come back from the sea, throw their net, give the catch, and go away, understandably because physically they've been exhausted. And what they do for the evening or the day, I'm not going to go through, And of course, come back home to say, hey, get my favorite dish, and if you don't, I'll thrash you twice. All that happens, I'm not getting into it. But these women, through the day, dry the fish, pack the fish, go. Some of the fish can be sold fresh. They would rush into the neighborhood villages, sell it, come back. And now they ask you such, this is very patronizing to say it like this, but I would still risk it. They would come and ask you, hey, tell me how best I can get this to a better market which gives me a better price. They're not thinking of the immediate neighborhood. They've had enough of them bargaining, for 5 rupees and 2 rupees. And the village where I've adopted, the first thing I said is, I think we should give you all a community hall. The one which is here is very dilapidated. I said, the woman from the crowd asked me, will it have computers? Will you teach us to use the computers? They're not waiting. They're not waiting. They are up there. They want things to be given to them. But we are the ones who are telling them 24/7 power, it's not there in the village, internet connectivity. They say, why not? Then if you have it in the city, give it here for us. And are they wrong in asking? No. And that's where I think we need to. And some of them, in fact, very interestingly, said, you can sell things from computer? My son tells me that. And I said, okay, your son told you that, ask him for more. No, but my daughter is the one who's going to help me to do it sitting in the village, because son has gone off for a job in the city. They're very clear. The daughter who's going to be doing it, for me, whether she continues in the family or goes to the next village getting married or to the town getting married, doesn't matter. But if you empower that woman and her daughter, the produce is going to reach better markets. They are ready for it. We are delaying. We are not reaching out. Isn't that economy important? So, yes, this talk can go on. So the digital awareness, digital readiness is also there among them, the small traders. It's us who are not reaching them. Women's enhanced role in business, from the point of view of financial inclusion, from the point of view of funding for them, from the point of view of awareness for them, from the point of view of all of us reaching out to them and the digital India reaching out to them. I think 5 different platforms on which we can have greater enhanced role for women, and we from the government are committed for it, and I'm sure all your cooperation will be available for us on that. Thank you.
Thank you for a very, very inspiring talk, Ms. Sitharaman. I want to take you up on a couple of things that you said. I'm really delighted that you said you would want to engage further with us. And all the points that you made, especially about digital literacy, many of us feel very strongly about it. We've been, one of the reasons why you have so many different NGOs and activists here today is that we try to create that little connectivity that helps them to enhance what they're doing. So one is, of course, you talked about the websites. The second is the technology that they use, including simple things like using WhatsApp to use it effectively, and the computers come afterwards. For all this to spread, we feel that the resources that all of us struggle for are very, very meager, and there is no understanding. In fact, I must honestly say, it is the first time today that I have heard someone saying that the government needs to do something to create this bridge and to teach people. And I want to offer that we would be happy to connect with all the NGOs also that are here to find a way to make this possible so that it doesn't remain a speech. And if you have ideas of how we could help to collaborate and give training, because we feel Digital India, which the Prime Minister has announced, is a huge thing. It's really important. The flip side of it is all the things that can go wrong. So whether it is simply using your ATM card wrongly and money vanishing from your account, and these are things people don't understand. Indians have taken to technology very, very rapidly and very well. They do not understand the flip side of technology about what can go wrong. So we feel that hand in hand with a RuPay card or using technology for their business, they can lose it all overnight if that RuPay card is used wrongly. And we would urge you to convey that whether it is the National Payments Corporation, NCPI, which has a RuPay card, or other organizations, including banks, they have to devote time to create this education about safe use of technology. First, use of technology, but use it safely, because we are talking, as you talked, and especially your ministry, we're talking about commerce and industry, and you can't afford to have them lose money. Then it is, it finishes their life because there are no easy solutions. I was wondering, would you like to say something about this? Would you like to respond, if anything is possible?
No, I take your point. That's a very serious and critical issue in this. The enthusiasm to use, let's say, even a simple and not a smartphone to be financially more empowered, and that's what the RuPay card has underlined, has taken this idea of banking and also net banking into the villages to those who are very enthusiastic about that connectivity. But one wrong move or one failure, because there are not enough firewalls to take care of such operations, can finish an individual off completely, and his faith in such systems will be shattered straight away. It is as risky as the Ponzi schemes in which they get into and then find it difficult to come out of. The government will have to ensure that there are enough safeguards and such laws which in the eventuality, unfortunate eventuality, such unwanted or undesirable eventualities are also ensured, so that that one odd individual doesn't become an example which people repeatedly quote to break the trust that the system has to have. I understand, and therefore I think both from the point of view of technology and also as a follow-out to give some insurance cover for such risks that might not be the fault of the individual but fault of the system, thereby he suffers, will have to be made.
Thank you so much. We move on now to the second part of the program. Before we do that, may I request Devashish Basu to present a small memento to Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman.